Fighting is woven into the very fabric of humanity, a primal instinct that speaks to our most basic instincts. But have you ever wondered how combat sports evolved from ancient gladiatorial contests to the carefully regulated, high-stakes matches we see in the UFC today? The journey of the Ultimate Fighting Championship is more than just a tale of athletes, it's a dramatic clash of tradition, innovation, and pure adrenaline. As we dive into its history, we'll uncover shocking truths, explore unexpected controversies, and reveal how this organization transformed what was once deemed brutal chaos into a mainstream sports phenomenon. Let's step into the octagon and unravel the untold story behind the UFC's rise to supremacy in the world of mixed martial arts. The birth of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, or UFC, is a captivating narrative of vision, ambition, and sheer will that forever changed combat sports. As it burst onto the scene in 1993, many had no idea they were witnessing the dawn of a new era in athletic competition. What led to its formation, and how did it stand out from other fight promotions at the time? Let's unravel the gripping tale of the UFC's inception. In the early 1990s, a group of martial arts enthusiasts, led by Art Davie, sought to create a platform that would showcase the effectiveness of different martial arts styles. Inspired by the Brazilian jiu-jitsu prowess of the Gracie family, Davie envisioned a fight that pitted various disciplines against one another, a true test of skill and dominance. This idea materialized at a time when mixed martial arts was virtually unheard of in the mainstream. On November 12, 1993, the first UFC event took place in Denver, Colorado. With the tagline, "There are no rules," it set the tone for a fierce competition, featuring fighters from various disciplines such as boxing, wrestling, and karate. The tournament's adrenaline-pumping atmosphere captured attention, with fans marveling at the brutal battles that unfolded in the octagon. One of the most pivotal moments in UFC's early days was the dominance of Royce Gracie. With his Brazilian jiu-jitsu background, Gracie showcased unmatched submission skills, winning the tournament by defeating several opponents in stunning fashion. His success not only sparked interest in BJJ but also demonstrated the efficacy of ground fighting techniques. This would ultimately shift the trajectory of martial arts. With its raw brutality, the early UFC events drew controversial attention, often labeled as human cockfighting by critics, including future politicians. This scrutiny led to an outcry among lawmakers, resulting in bans in several states. However, instead of fading away, the UFC fought back, laying the groundwork for its eventual acceptance as a legitimate sport. Despite the controversies, the UFC's first events generated significant interest. However, to secure a future beyond the criticism, change was necessary. Higher production values, regulation, and the standardization of rules became crucial for the organization's survival. The initial fight format and approach had to evolve to gain the approval of not just fighters, but fans and regulatory bodies as well. As the organization navigated its tumultuous beginnings, it quickly realized that more than just brutal fights were needed for long-term success. Entertaining storylines, compelling rivalries, and a broader understanding of fighters' backgrounds began to emerge, setting the stage for what would become an explosive expansion in future years. From the inception of the UFC, its founders faced immense challenges and controversies, but they managed to carve a unique niche in the world of combat sports. The combination of a bold vision, groundbreaking fights, and the undeniable skill of fighters like Royce Gracie drew in an audience eager for more. What started as a risky venture evolved into a cultural phenomenon that has changed the face of martial arts forever. The birth of the UFC is a testament to how courage, advocacy, and evolution can transform a sport into an enduring global empire. When the UFC burst onto the scene in the early 1990s, it was greeted with a torrent of controversy and backlash. The initial format, no rules, no weight classes, and unregulated fighting, drew in hardcore fans, but it also sparked outrage and concern among politicians and public figures. Among the most vocal critics was Senator John McCain, who famously deemed it human cockfighting, leading to an avalanche of legislative scrutiny. Several states immediately moved to ban the sport, leaving the UFC teetering on the brink of collapse. This growing storm of opposition was exacerbated by shocking incidents during early events. With mismatched fighters and limited regulations, the brutal nature of the bouts led to criticism from the media and public safety advocates. The lack of referees in early formats raised concerns about fighter safety. Many athletes found themselves in perilous situations without any means of safeguarding their well-being. The UFC's image was tainted, often painted as a barbaric spectacle. Despite the mounting challenges, the determination of the UFC's leadership shone through. Behind the scenes, Dana White, who would later become president, and other key players recognized the need for transformation. They understood that if the UFC were to survive, it required not only a change in perception but also a complete overhaul of its operational structure. By reaching out to regulators and implementing safety measures, the UFC began laying the groundwork for a more legitimate and accepted form of mixed martial arts. But the journey was anything but smooth. With heavy criticism and dwindling revenues, the fate of the UFC hung in the balance. The organization's decision-makers faced an uphill battle to convince state athletic commissions and governments to allow sanctioned bouts. Yet, amidst the adversity, a glimmer of hope emerged. The groundwork for a regulated sport was being laid, and the necessity of rule changes would become the catalyst for the UFC's transformation into a competitive sport with all the excitement of a fight night, without endangering lives. As the UFC began embracing regulation, it not only survived the trials of its early years but also established itself as a pioneering force. This rebirth would ultimately redefine combat sports, showcasing that even the most controversial beginnings can pave the way for greatness. But just when it seemed the UFC was on the path to redemption, new hurdles were already looming, challenges that demanded resilience and innovation. The UFC initially lacked formal regulations, leading to extreme brutality and increasing scrutiny from media and politicians. John McCain coined the term human cockfighting, which fueled criticism and prompted several states to ban the sport entirely. Financial struggles and public backlash forced the UFC to seek reform to ensure its survival. In 2001, the unified rules of mixed martial arts were established, providing a framework for regulations that would shape the sport. Key changes included the introduction of weight classes, mandatory gloves, and ensuring fighters had medical examinations before matches. The appointment of experienced referees like Herb Dean and John McCarthy helped professionalize officiating and enhance fighter safety. The adoption of these regulations contributed to gaining legitimacy and acceptance from a skeptical audience and media. The increased safety measures led to the growth of state athletic commissions, which began sanctioning MMA events. Today, regulatory bodies work alongside the UFC to oversee fighter welfare, ensuring that medical standards and fighter safety protocols are upheld. The UFC began its journey with an anything-goes mentality that drew both excitement and condemnation. As the sport caught the eye of lawmakers and the general public, it faced an existential crisis. In 1996, John McCain, a senator and a vocal critic, famously dubbed it human cockfighting, unleashing a wave of negative media attention and resulting in a cascade of state bans. This backlash pushed the UFC to the brink of financial ruin, compelling its executives to make critical changes to survive. In 2001, the tide truly began to turn with the introduction of the unified rules of mixed martial arts. This innovative framework laid down the essential rules designed to safeguard the fighters, such as prohibiting strikes to the back of the head and defining weight classes. Suddenly, fighters found themselves in a structured environment, where medical examinations became mandatory, and safety protocols were prioritized. Referees like Herb Dean and John McCarthy stepped into the spotlight, bringing their expertise to the forefront. With experienced officials at the helm, the matches became safer, and fighter welfare moved into focus. The commitment to safety had a remarkable effect. It fostered legitimacy and earned the previously skeptical audience's trust. As the UFC adopted and proliferated these regulations, state athletic commissions took notice, formalizing their roles in the sanctioning of MMA events. No longer was the UFC a rogue organization, it was now part of a respected sports framework. This evolution solidified its position in the world of sports and paved the way for the modern era of mixed martial arts. However, even amidst these advancements, challenges remain. As the sport grows, so do the complexities of keeping fighters' safety in check, ensuring fair pay, and navigating the intricacies of global regulations. But one thing is clear, regulation has been a game-changer for the UFC and laid the foundation for its explosive rise in popularity and credibility. As we dive deeper into the story of the UFC, it's essential to recognize that regulations were more than mere guidelines. They transformed the landscape of mixed martial arts and shaped the very essence of what the UFC represents today. In the early 2000s, the world of mixed martial arts stood at a pivotal crossroads, and it was a groundbreaking reality television show that would ignite the UFC's meteoric rise to fame. The Ultimate Fighter launched in 2005 and became a cultural sensation, revolutionizing how fans viewed the sport. It fused elements of competition, drama, and personal stories, drawing viewers in like never before. This show was more than just another fight series, it was a showcase of raw talent and discipline. The format featured aspiring fighters living together and competing for a contract with the UFC. Viewers became invested in their journeys, cheering as they battled through grueling challenges, forging friendships, and confronting their fears. It highlighted the unseen dedication behind the fighters' bravado. What truly set The Ultimate Fighter apart was its authentic portrayal of fighters' lives. We witnessed their struggles, aspirations, and the emotional highs and lows of competition, which humanized them beyond their personas. People began to connect with the athletes on a deeper level, no longer were they just fighters in the ring, but relatable individuals pursuing their dreams. But that wasn't the whole story, the show's impact transcended the screen. The intense rivalries sparked during the series translated seamlessly into the octagon. For example, the famous feud between coaches Randy Couture and Chuck Liddell was a game-changer, drumming up excitement and anticipation for their eventual face-off, which drew record pay-per-view numbers. As The Ultimate Fighter captured the hearts of viewers, it acted as a gateway to the sport itself, introducing countless fans to MMA. This newfound popularity paved the way for larger events, increasing sponsorship deals, and significant investments that further solidified the UFC's dominance in the sporting world. Now, with each season, the franchise continues to unveil fresh talent and cultivate future stars, ensuring that the legacy of The Ultimate Fighter lives on. The show remains an essential part of the UFC's narrative, demonstrating how it shaped the sport and brought MMA to the forefront of popular culture. As we look at the influence of The Ultimate Fighter, one thing is clear, it redefined the landscape of mixed martial arts, igniting a passion that would flourish for years to come. As the UFC evolved, a new breed of fighters emerged, reshaping the landscape of mixed martial arts forever. Among them, Ronda Rousey stood as a groundbreaking force, paving the path for women in the sport. With her fierce determination and relentless finishing power, Rousey launched an unprecedented campaign, going undefeated for nearly a decade. Her reign as the first women's bantamweight champion not only brought legitimacy to women's MMA but also opened doors for countless aspiring female fighters. Rousey transformed the perception of women in combat sports, and her bouts became must-watch events, drawing attention from both die-hard fans and mainstream audiences. Then came Conor McGregor, whose magnetic personality redefined the role of a fighter in the UFC. From his unapologetic trash talk to his audacious style, McGregor became a global superstar, transcending the sport itself. His victory over Jose Aldo in just 13 seconds to claim the featherweight championship is etched in UFC history, as is his ability to float between weight classes and hold multiple titles. The Irishman's charm, coupled with his fight IQ and striking prowess, brought a new wave of fans, drawn not just to the sport but to the theatrics that came with it. But the emergence of stars didn't stop there. Fighters like Jon Jones mesmerized fans with their extraordinary talent and versatility, unifying titles and showcasing skills that left many in awe. Amanda Nunes stepped into the spotlight as a powerhouse, becoming the first woman to hold two divisions of the championship simultaneously, while Israel Adesanya brought a unique striking style and showmanship that resonated with the fans. Together, these athletes not only excelled in their performances but also raised the stakes for future challengers. The rise of these stars extended beyond individual achievements. They propelled the UFC into the mainstream, drawing in millions of fans and lucrative sponsorships that transformed the organization's fortunes. The once niche sport was capturing the attention of even those who had never grappled with martial arts before. Diversity also flourished in this new era. Fighters from various backgrounds brought their unique fighting styles to the octagon. Different continents, cultures, and martial disciplines converged to represent a more global and inclusive sport. As we witness fighters from diverse origins step into the limelight, the sport evolves further with each showdown. Looking ahead, the question looms: who will become the next big star in the UFC? With so much talent on the rise, the next era of fighters promises to add new chapters to the storied legacy of mixed martial arts. As the fight game continues to evolve, fans can only watch eagerly as these athletes carve their paths and reshape the future of the UFC. Their stories are still being written, and we're all excited to see what comes next in this ever-evolving saga. As the UFC finds itself basking in the glow of unprecedented mainstream success, it faces an array of modern challenges that threaten its position as the crown jewel of combat sports. One of the most pressing issues is fighter compensation. While the organization enjoys record-breaking revenues, many fighters have voiced their concerns over what they perceive as minimal payouts relative to the profits generated. This disparity has sparked discussions surrounding fairness and equity in a sport where athletes risk their health and safety inside the octagon. Another significant hurdle is the ongoing scrutiny over fighter health and safety. Recent years have seen rising awareness surrounding the long-term impacts of head trauma and concussions. Advocates are calling for stricter regulations and better medical oversight to protect the fighters. The conversation has evolved beyond the cage, reflecting the growing concern for athletes' well-being, a factor that could either reinforce the UFC's credibility or become a determining factor in its downfall. Regulatory challenges also loom large. As the UFC expands into new territories, differing laws and attitudes towards MMA create potential obstacles. Countries may impose unique regulations that complicate promotions and impact fighters' preparation and traveling arrangements. How they navigate these waters will be pivotal for the organization's global growth. Moreover, the rise of social media influencers and YouTube boxing has introduced new competitors for viewers' attention. Fighters from other backgrounds, like TikTok stars and influencers, are crossing into the combat sports realm for high-profile matches that generate buzz. How will the UFC adapt to keep its loyal fan base engaged in an era filled with diverse entertainment options? Lastly, there's the question of sustainability. As environmental concerns take center stage globally, how will the UFC handle its role in promoting and hosting events? With criticism aimed at large events contributing to carbon footprints, the organization must consider how it can innovate to align with eco-friendly practices without sacrificing the exhilarating atmosphere fans expect. Despite these hurdles, the future looks promising. With an ever-increasing talent pool and groundbreaking training techniques, the next generation of fighters is eager to push the boundaries of what's possible in the cage. Technologies like virtual reality and enhanced analytics are likely to transform training experiences and fan interactions, crafting a more immersive environment for spectators. In a world rife with challenges, the UFC is at a crossroads, facing issues head-on while exploring innovative paths. With its ability to adapt, the organization may very well cement itself as a dominant force in the realm of sports, captivating fans around the world for years to come. Will they conquer these challenges, or will they redefine the fight game in the process? Only time will reveal the journey that lies ahead. As we look back on the journey of the UFC, it becomes clear that this is more than just a tale of fighters and matches, it's a story of resilience, innovation, and undeniable passion. The transition from brutal brawls in isolated venues to packed arenas filled with roaring fans is a testament to the sport's ability to evolve and adapt. Each champion, each groundbreaking fight, and each moment of drama has contributed to what the UFC represents today, a cultural phenomenon that unites fans across the globe. But as we gaze into the future, the real question remains: what lies ahead for the UFC? With new generations of fighters ready to step into the octagon, and the sport pushing boundaries into untapped territories, it's clear that the intrigue will only deepen. The challenges may be formidable, but so too is the spirit of competition and camaraderie that binds the MMA community. So, whether you're a die-hard fan or new to the sport, remember this: the UFC is not just about the fights, it's about the stories, the struggles, and the triumphs that continue to shape and inspire us. Now, as we close the chapter on the UFC's past, let's eagerly await the unpredictable and exciting stories that are yet to unfold. The fight game is far from over, stay tuned.